The coolest thing about traveling inside a hologram was you feel everything like it was real, the cold, heat, wind, or rain, and the sex was mind-blowing. There were countless coffee shops where people would pay by the hour to sit in amazingly comfortable chairs to travel inside. A blue force field prevented anyone from seeing inside or penetrating the protected field around you. It was the coolest thing ever. The year of our Lord, 2323. Deborah teleported from her office in Shanghai to her home in Chicago. She had a long day and needed something to take the edge off. She kicked her left shoe off her feet and then her right shoe before her left foot touched the floor. It was so fast that if you had blinked, you would have missed the whole thing. It was a game to her. But it drove her AI crazy, and she loved to rile up the AI. Hey, you almost hit the freaking flower pot your favorite auntie gave you for your birthday. You better be careful, said the AI. Pulling her sweater over her head, she stepped out of the teleport. Tossed both sweater and bra on the blue cloth chair next to the full-length mirror. Her smile said it all. She was incredibly pleased with how at 40, the girls stood as firm as they did when she was 16. What can I do for you? Asked her AI. Well, to start you can turn on the lights. She stood next to the octagon, looking in the mirror. A lot of rich people had their teleport designed and fashioned by Apex Design Company. Some machines were modest in size. But not her. She had an 8 by 8 foot wide octagon that stood 8 feet in height, a challenge for any builder. But it had to be the biggest and best. She was a fan of abstract art and postmodern furniture, a style that had faded over 300 years ago. Her teleport room housed all elements of a long-gone society. She also had to have the premium AI package. Apex would implant a small radio chip behind the right eye of its clients. This chip was powered by their software. It gave anyone with the premium package the ability to use their AI anywhere in the world. You could even teleport without being inside the octagon. The government had thousands of satellites that performed the same features as your teleport. But to use those satellites, you had to be rich with the AI premium package. Deborah could create holograms of restaurants, bars, parks, or any environment she requested from her teleport. She now had all her meetings inside the hologram. No more teleporting across town or the world. Once she had 2 of her friends join her in a hologram on a beach, just as a tsunami was making landfall. The waves came in fast and were as high as mountain tops. The water smashed the beach, kicking up sand, chairs, and small beachside cafes. They all felt drenched. You feel the cold, heat, wind, or rain, even though it was not real. And the sex inside was mind-blowing. If you were in public and went inside, your system would place a protective light blue force field around you. There were countless coffee shops where people would pay by the hour to sit in amazingly comfortable chairs to travel into a hologram. It was the coolest thing ever. Not like the old model she had last year, which only took commands at home and had no real features. She had moved up the ladder in life. Deborah named her AI Crystal, after a favorite character in a crime novel. Hey Crystal, start my shower, please. The shower waters began to flow, like sprinkles of forest raindrops. Deborah liked the soft feel of water, rolling from the top of her head down her breast and cascading downward. She disrobed and stepped into a shower, big enough to hold 5 people. Matthew or Matt is what most people called him, He lived in a 300-year-old library leftover from the times of rampant crime, political corruption, racism through group psychosis, and minority group self-genocides and mass fear. He found the library while investigating a billion-dollar Bitcoin case about 3 years ago. It was this small Victorian castle-looking structure that sat on 4 acres of land. It wasn't on the market, but he convinced the owner to sell it to him. It took him 6 months to get the space where it was livable, but now is a beautiful place with fantastically great bookshelves and outstanding designs. He kept all the old books from the library and incorporated them into the design. He even had an airtight vault in the basement for the super old books. It was Saturday night and Matt was rushing to meet his girlfriend for a couple's dinner at their friend's new house. He tripped over a shoe box that he had in the middle of the floor. To brace himself from the fall, he grabbed a metal hook, which was protruding from one of the old red bricks in the wall. The hook stopped him from falling headfirst into his door, but it had loosened the brick to the point that it was now lying on the floor next to his decorative small hallway table. Matt commanded his AI to turn on the hallway lights. Now he could see the damage. The hole was deep and dark, he couldn't really see inside. Retrieving a flashlight from his junk drawer, he shined a light inside and noticed what looked like an old bundle of torn and tattered rags. He was more than curious now. Reaching into his fresh hole in the wall, he could feel a book wrapped inside of the old rags. When he had discarded the rags, he felt fear, amazement, and fear to see it was a King James Bible. It was a surprise indeed. It was an original Bible from the 21st century. A book that had been outlawed hundreds of years ago after the Great War. The Great War was a religious war. Many nations took sides, and millions of people died. After the war ended, all religious material was outlawed and destroyed. Have a Bible in your possession was a death sentence. Deborah was at the end of her hologram sex. She had ordered the right man and the right size. Crystal, cancel hologram. Run me another shower, damn. There were millions of enforcers inside the military hierarchy, and she was at the top. She only met with the next level positions down from her, managing enforcers. As top dog, she ordered everyone in her leadership circle to sign up for the AI premium system. She could meet with thousands of them inside a hologram at once, cutting time and travel by 94%. Deborah only needed to cover regional outcomes. Her only mandatory meeting was with Patu, President of the United World. After lunch, Deborah received an emergency hologram in her home office. Only 2 people had this number. This had to be serious. Crystal opened intercom. It was the Patu herself. The Patu went into a quick rant. Deborah, we have an issue. We have a problem. Someone just murdered my second in command. Just a handful of people knew about this. The problem isn't his untimely death, but he was a collector of 21st century artifacts. The only thing missing from his collection is a Bible. We need to find this book before it's copied and distributed. As far as the press knows, he slipped in the shower and that his death was an unfortunate accident. But when you find the person who has the book, you will find his killer. And we know that the crime for having any religious material carries the same penalty as manslaughter. Whoever this person is, they will pay for both crimes under one charge, possession of illegal material with intent to distribute. She agreed to get her top managing enforcer on it. Pata told her that the world would know of his death soon. Time is of the essence here. Deborah confirmed that statement and agreed to give the Pata daily updates via hologram secured space. She immediately thought of Matt. She knew it was a Saturday night and he is probably out with his girl, but this cannot wait. She ordered her AI to call Matt. He was her top enforcer, and if anyone could find this missing Bible, it was him. His hologram appeared in front of her desk, where she sat thinking about her next move. "Hello, ma'am," stated Matt. "Hello, Matt. I have a job for your ears only." She explained the situation and the time frame in which this needed to happen. They both knew what was at stake. But what she didn't know was that days ago, he had found a Bible in the wall of his home. And that he had shared that information with his girlfriend and they both had read from it. As he listened to his boss's instructions, he thought of the period between the second-in-command's death and when he found the Bible in his wall. Once Matt had closed his hologram chat with Deborah, he glanced at the Bible on the kitchen table. It appears there are at least 2 Bibles. What he had found the Bible to be was a guide, an instruction book on life's ups and downs. How to overcome those ups and downs. Kind of a life purpose. But he didn't take to the belief in a God. His girlfriend finished one paragraph and lost interest in the book itself. She told him to burn it and move on with his life. It wasn't worth the trouble that it would bring to his position. In fact, Rena hadn't thought about it in the last 2 days. And Matt wasn't going to bring it up again. His first move was to send his hologram to all the local pawn shops, book collectors, and print shops. He wanted the group to believe that the Bible was in circulation. Matt reminded the group that the penalty was death or up to 100 years imprisonment. He also told them that his agency would randomly scan their stores for carbon-dated paper from the year 2030 or less. Now that was the stick, he wanted to give them the carrot too. So, Matt added a reward to the chase. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of the book will get a free upgrade to AI Premium platform. He could see the smiles on every face in his hologram. Those smiles told him that none of them had any information yet, but will be willing to share the first bit of information they got. Matt knew he had to go to the dry zone. This is where the poorest of society lived. They weren't poor regarding food, housing, education, or clothing. In fact, they were rich in those things, but had the very minimum of tech. AI didn't exist in their homes. If they needed to get out of those neighborhoods, they had to go to a designated area to teleport out and back. No passports were needed. Everyone was a planet citizen. Because there was no tech here, it was easy for underground groups and illegal materials to go unnoticed. There was no crime in these zones, and the people lived well, just not as well as the well-to-do. Matt teleported to a location outside of his old hangout, the Admiral. People became healthier than ever. They ate fresh foods grown locally. They rode bicycles everywhere or teleported. Automotive vehicles were obsolete. There were no tribal differences or country origins, but part of one world nation. Hunger and the practice of pharmaceutical ended. The government didn't want to treat disease and prevent death. Death in any form other than murder was natural selection. The healthy or lucky lived on, and the weak or unlucky passed on. Matt studied the area around the Admiral before going inside. He was from this zone and still had friends and family here. He thought this was an appropriate time to communicate with Deborah before going into the bar. That was the thing about the AI Premium, it went everywhere you went. The Admiral had changed. The people looked and acted differently from the last time he was there. Something had changed. He sat at the end of the bar and ordered a drink. Before his drink could arrive, he was greeted by an incredibly attractive woman. She had fire-red hair. He hadn't seen a redhead in years and had forgotten how much he used to love redheads. "You don't remember me, do you?" asked the woman. Matt stood up and gave her a good look. Yes, he did recall her. "Jacqueline Shawn, we used to call you Jack for short." I haven't seen you since you were a little 9-year-old tomboy playing hoops, said Matt. Yes, Matt, but do I need to remind you that then you were 9 years old too? And I used to kick your ass all over the court. But I'm all grown up now, and yes, they still call me Jack. Yes, I can see that you are all grown up. He invited her to have a drink with him. During the conversation, he found out that she was the owner of the voice recognition software used in the new AI premium system. Jacqueline was in the dry zone visiting family. She kept residence here too. Jacqueline established a school here to train and employ the best tech kids before her competitors can. When the kids finish tech high school, and if hired, the 4 years of attending their high school were considered 4 years on the job training. The first day on the job, they will start with full benefits, 2 weeks vacation, and a signing bonus that goes into their 401k day one. The kick for the bonus is that it becomes real cash on a percent scale yearly up to 4 years, where it then converts to 100% real cash, plus the 401k interest and investment. When Matt got to why he was there, she was super excited. Not just to find out he was at the highest level of government, but that it was a real-life Bible out there. She wanted to help Matt find it, but only to keep it for herself. The trick would be to use his ability to open doors she couldn't get close to. And he could use her relationship with the community to find the book. Okay, Matt, I'm going to help you connect with some people in this zone. But we're not going to find the book in this bar. Let's see a friend. He runs an underground meditation group. I know what you're thinking, but look past that if you're indeed just looking for the book. When she stood up, Matt immediately noticed her shape. She wasn't just super intelligent, but super hot too. She wasn't wearing a wedding ring. That would be another conversation for another time. The meditation group was full of at least 50 people. Lack of tech in these areas would allow a group of this size to be undetected by scanners. The group leader did have a premium system, thanks to Jack. She wanted him to be able to reach her whenever there was a problem in the community, and particularly the school. A young woman in her early 30s met Matt and Jack at the entrance of the building. She took them into the room and pointed to a place in the back, where they could wait for the meditation to end. Jack sat down with her legs crossed, and Matt followed suit. The entire group was seated in a child's pose. He remembers this pose from his yoga classes with Rena. As he sat there in a quiet state, he felt calm. He thought of a verse he had read in the Bible last night. He wasn't a person to feel panic or a sense of nervous energy, but this feeling devoid of any emotion was different. Jack tapped him on his shoulder. The class is ending. When the group finished their meditation, they all held their hands toward the sky and uttered in unison, "Seek higher thoughts." Matt realized that "seek higher thoughts" was a lot safer than saying "God bless." As people began to leave the room, he notices a freakishly tall older man rushing a petite woman through a red door in the back of the space, calling out to the couple to stop. The woman continued to walk. The man turned his head and made eye contact with him. The couple looked to be in their 60s. The woman had black hair with gray stripes. Her complexion was olive. She was about 5'8", with a thin frame. Her male companion was considerably taller. He was at least 6'2". He wore a black earring in his right ear and a salt and pepper ponytail. "Excuse me, sir, excuse me." The man looked back at Matt just before closing the door. Matt glanced in Jack's direction before galloping toward the door. He snatched the door open with so much force that the doorknob cracked the wall before forcing the door to bounce back and hitting Matt on his right shoulder. He didn't get too far before meeting an overhand right cross that connected with the bottom of his chin. The violent thrust of the punch pushed Matt into the arms of Jack and Mr. Bush, the leader of the meditation group. He looked up at Jack as she held him in her arms. "I guess we are in the right place," said Jack. Both Jack and Mr. Bush helped him regain his composure. He stood there, shaking his head and holding his chin. "Wow, he knocked the shit out of you," said Mr. Bush. "You didn't see that right cross coming. We could see that from back here. You're lucky his wife didn't give you a few combinations. She is a lot more efficient than her husband," said Jack. Everyone in the room was laughing or smiling on the verge of laughter. "Who was that couple?" asked Matt. "Ask them yourself," said Mr. Bush. The couple were walking toward Matt and the small group that had gathered. "What the hell is wrong with you, son? Don't you know better than to come after an elderly couple?" "What's your hurry?" asked Matt. "We are late getting our dog from the sitter." "Can you bike across town in 15 minutes?" asked the elderly man. "No, sir, I couldn't," replied Matt. "My name is John Upshaw, and this is my wife, Betty Upshaw." "Now, what can we do for you?" asked John. "We're looking for a Bible that we believe to be in circulation." "When I say we, I mean the government and me," said Matt. Mr. Bush and John both glanced in the direction of Jack. "I hope you guys know that I am the first managing enforcer to visit this zone looking for a freaking Bible. I hope that I am the last one to come here over this issue. Do you remember the last time the government sent 1,000 managing enforcers into a community? It wasn't a good look for anyone. I'm going to the lobby to get a bottle of water. When I come back, I hope you people have something that can help me and you out," said Matt. Everyone watched him as he left the room, squeezing his chin. Matt also had an assistant or second in command. Her name was Adelphia Bell. Today she was working through her lunch break to finish the list of people that had appointments with the PIKE second in command before his death. There were about 50 people, but the name Rhonda Sykes stood out. She sent an alert to Matt's AI. The message instructed him to join a pre-recorded hologram with some very interesting information. He could join whenever he could. He had a moment and decided to join now. He wasn't surprised to be in a 1920s Italian cafe on the south side of Chicago. He smiled at the imagination of his assistant. "Hey boss, over here," said Adelphia. She was sitting at a table next to Al Capone. Matt sat down, and she began to lay out all her findings. The second in command of the PIKE had 20 face-to-face and 87 hologram meetings the day of his unfortunate accident. He was halfway through his schedule. He was, in fact, in the shower talking with the regional director when he had the accident. She hesitated. "Answer me this. How was it possible for him to be in the shower and in a meeting, in a hologram at the same time?" He told her the government has a unique AI system that can create an image of you. This would give the second in command the freedom to do other things during the hologram. You could be eating, working out, biking, having sex, or taking a shower. No one would know. Adelphia smiled in amazement. "Okay, boss, there was one name that was constant, Rhonda Sykes." Rhonda managed the second in command life and business. From the cleaning of his home to the booking of his appointments. Everything went through her. Rhonda had a large home on 2 acres of land. Her home address was listed as 1912 Pike Road, where the command's home address was 1912 Spring Road South. This made them backyard neighbors. Matt thanked her for the excellent job and checked out. But she couldn't leave before waving goodbye to Al Capone. El smiled and tipped his hat. "Okay, everyone, I'm back. Who has something to tell me?" said Matt. At this point, there were about 60 people in the room. Mr. Bush pointed at a table in the corner of the room. There were 4 small boxes and a couple of leftover cupcakes on the table. "I am just as shocked as you," said Jack. Matt walked over to the boxes and turning each one of them over, watching the content hit the ground until he was standing in front of a pile of Bibles. "Matt, let me tell you what I just heard," said Jack. "A week ago, someone from high up in government gave a copy of the original Bible to a print shop in one of the dry zones." "Which print shop?" interrupted Matt. "We don't know," said Jack. "That's not all. The Bible has been embedded into the hologram system. 3 million people a day have viewed the Bible and counting. A week before the death of the second in command. Don't look so surprised. We knew of his death before you. I own a tech company, remember? Someone had given the Bible to an underground religious group. The text was embedded into the central AI system. Apparently, the second in command felt that the world had grown and needed to believe in something greater than man again. Who he gave it to, we couldn't tell you. What I can say is that someone lied to you. They knew that the second in command had 2 Bibles. When he died, they couldn't find one of them, so they panicked. We believe his death was no accident. Pata wanted to put a fire under your ass to find that book before it was too late." "Well, Matt, it's too late," said Jack. Matt smiled at everyone in the room and said goodbye. "Hey Matt, one last thing. The person who passed the Bible to the underground group has died. His very last words were, 'God bless Pike.'" "God bless Pike, what the hell does that mean?" he thought to himself. Jack blew a kiss in his direction and whispered, "Call me." Matt waved to the group and then instructed his AI to teleport him home. There were small broken fragmented arrays of light that covered his body before he disappeared in a quick flash. He decided to go home first before reporting his findings to Deborah. Retrieving his Bible from behind the brick where he had it hidden from sight, he poured himself a glass of red wine, then blew the dust off the cover of the Bible. Matt sat down on his sofa and let out a sigh of relief. He then opened the page to Deuteronomy. If you like the story, please share it with a friend. Don't forget to smash the like button. Thank you, from Henry Hicks.